Hello there.
Hello, this is about the French paradox. This is where the French people appear to eat a very heavy diet, uh, but in doing so, still manage to come out with very good health indicators comparatively in terms of heart disease. So my question for Graham is it all about the wine?
Great question.
Like
I know. Of course, part of me would like to believe it is about the wine because
It suits you to do so.
it might have suited me to do so, particularly when I was drinking wine more regularly than I do now. I think we're talking about red wine here.
We are, yeah, that's right, yeah. And why red wine, if it is the case.
So, yeah, there's been so much talk and research done about this issue over the years, and I think that we've still not really arrived at the actual defining answer as to whether the French paradox is based on the fact that they drink red wine frequently. I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's part of the overall way in which the French have traditionally eaten, so that wine forms part of a healthy lifestyle.
So is the wine then actively healthy itself, or is it a correlation that they found where people eat in a certain way, they're healthy, they happen to also drink wine, but that's neither one thing nor the other? Is it a factor? I'm still curious.
I think there are certain factors within. When you look at red wine, there are certain things about red wine that make it healthy. There are compounds in red wine, polyphenols, kind of essentially natural chemicals within the wine that have been shown to be beneficial. For example, resveratrol, which is found in the skins of red grapes, and it's been shown to have cardiovascular benefits. So perhaps that is a key factor.
So is that then down to the grapes, or is there any input from the alcohol?
I think that is down to the grapes. I think it just happens to come within let's say the medium is alcohol, or is the wine itself. So yeah, so I think that is one of the factors, but I don't think per se red wine itself is something that we should all be drinking to promote our well-being. I think it's what we do more holistically, if you like.
Yeah. Okay. So could you alluded to the lifestyle, and that's something that fascinates me, especially as they live so close to us where we do things so differently. The French still give a lot of time and value to their food in their meal times, 3 times a day. And if you think about lunch, it's not unusual for a French person to spend probably 1 to 2 hours on lunch. Well, it's more like 20 minutes in the UK. And I think that may be a huge factor. Alone for digestion, as a minimum, it's really useful to eat food much more slowly. And another thing that they do, perhaps more commonly than we do, is that there's a greater emphasis on whole foods. And we certainly know from other cultures that we've looked at where the food is probably a big influence towards the health of those peoples. It is always whole foods. There's always an emphasis on unprocessed whole foods, natural foods. Could that be a factor then? The lifestyle itself, do you think that might be?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think that, and that kind of like also chimes with research into other cultures where they've looked at the factors that govern longevity, for example, in certain countries in the world, and it usually all kind of comes together in that respect. I think another thing about France and the French is that, at least traditionally, because I think that things have evolved quite a lot in the way that they eat today as well, and perhaps they're kind of like becoming more in how they eat is more in common with how we eat in other parts of Europe, and particularly Northern Europe, more than it was perhaps 20, 30 years ago. So we need to bear that in mind. But one of the things that the French, if you see how the French eat, their portion sizes also are quite modest. They don't pile their plates with food, and I think that's also no supersizing, and I think that's something that is worth looking at as well. I think that so really, I think when we're looking at the French paradox, I think we're looking at a lot of factors that come together that ultimately have benefits. So,
and I think something we enjoy doing is trying to figure out where we can what's behind the data. Where did the data come from? Is it accurate? How was it collected? All of those sorts of things. And in terms of the French paradox, well, which part of France? Because the north and the south are quite different. Do their diets differ? We suspect they do. There's a strong likelihood that the diet in northern France relates a little bit more to other northern European countries like Belgium, whereas in southern France it's probably a little bit more Mediterranean. So who are these measurements made on? And that's another interesting factor. And we don't have the answer for that, but it's worth questioning. Sometimes we get a piece of information, it's couched as being scientific and therefore must be true. There's always something more to it, or very often there is. It's just worth questioning.
And that's one thing we really love to do on a daily basis. We question things and we like to draw our own conclusions about things, and we love to share our ideas and thoughts with others. So if you'd like to hear more and participate and come along to one of our talks, you'll find more details on our Facebook page, Henry and Henry. Also, we have a page called The Power of Natural Food.
That's right.
So, yeah, perhaps you'll see us there and be interested to come along to one of our talks.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd like to see you.
Thank you.
Bye.